This video is sponsored by Skillshare. A few weeks ago, I posted this photo as a promo for one of my videos, but a lot of you seem to think I was turning flowers into fairies. And I felt kind of bad because a lot of you seemed really excited. So I thought, by golly, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna turn some flowers into fairies. It's springtime. The cherry blossoms bloomed just a couple weeks ago, so everywhere you go it looks like an anime. I can never breathe because there's pollen on every single surface. I think flowers are having their moment right now. So I went on the Google machine and I looked up flowers that would be good for the springtime, and I selected these 3 flowers just because I thought they looked cool. Let's check out my Pinterest boards. So similar to the fungi episode, I kind of just went freestyle with this one again, partially because I am still fighting some art block and there's just not a whole lot going on up there right now. But I kind of just gathered a lot of pictures of actual flowers and then some fairy character designs as well, some fairy core to give me some clothing ideas, and of course lots of pictures of pretty people that I could use for face reference. I've also been on a bit of a 1970s fashion kick lately, so I have some fashion inspiration from that, along with the usual cottagecore nonsense. And with this one, I'm just kind of gonna let my brain go where it wants to and figure out what kind of ideas I can come up with whenever I don't have a whole lot to go off of. Mostly because brain no work right now. And that's relatable content. I'll be honest with you guys, I really struggled with these. I'm not as familiar with fairy aesthetics and character designs versus some of my usual fantasy nonsense, so my visual library is a little low in this department and I couldn't really think of many original ideas, which, when paired with my current art block, didn't make for the easiest time, but we persevere. I'm going to begin with the design I struggled with probably the least, which was the daffodil. I kind of went pretty literal with the translation of this design and just made her dress look like a daffodil, especially since it fits pretty well with how much my designs have leaned into cottagecore lately. Turning the flower itself into a dress has been done before over and over and over again, and it's kind of been done in this way too, but I wanted to try and give my take on it and honestly just indulge a little bit in this one because these kinds of designs are really cute, and with how much I struggled with the next 2, I kind of just needed to go easy on myself. So my first concept is generally what I stayed with, but I did futz around with a few other ideas like the hair and different accessories because I was being a little indecisive here. Again, head empty, no thoughts. How do you style fairy outfits? Because I have no clue. But eventually I ended up changing the pose and I finally felt like I was going in the right direction. There's really nothing super complicated happening here with the dress. It's once again kind of inspired by silky dresses, and this little inspiration I found, just an empire waist with petals as a skirt along with some cute little shorts for modesty. Since the dress was simple, I tried to bring it up a notch with some accessories. I gave her a little shawl over the dress to soften up the look, some matching lace-up fairy shoes, some sheer socks, and eventually a little scarf on her head. I also used the accessories as an opportunity to add some floral details and embellishments to the design to spice it up because the maximalist in me couldn't help it, and those little embellishments feel very soft and woodsy, like they could be hand embroidered by a fairy, which is really what we're going for here. Similar to the Fungi Fairies video, I wanted these characters to be gatherers and foragers, which means they need something to gather with. So I almost added a few action girl packs on her leg. Why, I don't know, but thankfully rolled in favor of a little basket for gathering fruit. I know, a little on the nose for the whole cottagecore thing, but it's pretty and I don't care. I tried to stick pretty close to the actual color palette of the flowers for these, but it was looking a little too green, so I did give her some red hair, as well as a warm skin tone, and just generally tried to warm and vary up the yellows a little bit to make it less overwhelmingly green. I also wanted to add little backgrounds to these, which proved to be kind of difficult for no reason at all. The compositions and colors of especially the later 2 designs really didn't play well with this idea, but this one worked slightly better. I added a graphic oval background with a dusty blue and pink sky and some fruit trees, a little simpler than what I normally go for, but apparently I could not for the life of me make a maximalist background work, which truly feels like a failure on my part, but it's fine. Finally, the wings were looking a little plain, so I added a similar floral pattern from the accessories to the wings, and I think that managed to bring the design together a little bit more. To finish up, I messed with the color balance and added a gradient map, and then Daffodil was done. I do like how she came out, even though it was a bit of a difficult road to get there. Like I said, I have been experiencing a little bit of art block and burnout lately, but what I say is the best medicine for art block and burnout is learning and finding new sources of inspiration, which is why I've been checking out Roman Murdov's class, Expressive Illustration from Ideas to Execution distribution, which is available through this video's sponsor, Skillshare. In this class, Roman explains his process for coming up with creative ideas quickly, his word association method for illustrations, and his intriguing illustrative process. I am so stuck in my ways whenever it comes to character designing, so the experimentation and happy accidents that Roman encourages is really freeing and brings a lot more fun to the design process. But if illustration isn't your cup of tea, as a massive online learning community, Skillshare has classes on countless other topics, like video editing, painting, and even cooking. Their platform is also ad-free, so you're never interrupted when you're engrossed in a class. New premium classes are launched each week, so there are countless skills to learn. Plus, their entire catalog is available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. So if you want to check out Roman's class or any of the other classes in Skillshare's catalog, you can do so for free, because the first 1,000 people to use my link in the description or to use my code PricklyAlpaca will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. A big thanks to Skillshare for being a wonderful longtime sponsor. Now, let's get back to it. Next up is the nettled iris. For this one, I went in a bit of an interesting direction. I don't hate it, but it's definitely the most out there of the three designs. Once again, I wanted to take the shape of the flower quite literally, but also drawing a good bit from fantasy in the aesthetics of fairycore, which I can only describe as Rip Van Winkle, but make it fashion. It basically looks like you've been sleeping in the woods for far too long, which is really all I want in my life. But my main inspiration for the face and the overall style was this photo. To me, the hair just really vibed with this iris for some reason, and from there I basically pieced together an outfit based on these fairycore outfits, but with colors more reminiscent of the iris. The base of the ensemble is a pair of low-rise belted shorts with some weird skirt details, and the top is a corseted vest over a tank top, which I matched with all sorts of weird accessories. Some lace-up arm warmers and matching shoes, and I'm guessing this character does lots of forging and brewing of odd potions, because I also made her covered in pouches, potion bottles, and an ample backpack. The look overall, especially with the finished colors, is a strange amalgamation of fairycore, Winx Club fashion, Harajuku, and the forest, which is intriguing to say the least. When it comes to the wings, it's hard to say where the skirt starts and the wings begin, and that's intentional. I based them directly off the flower petals because I thought they were super cool, and I feel like the bold shapes makes this design much more interesting. It kind of takes it from just a TikTok fashion outfit to, oh, this is actually a fairy character design. The colors were a mix of directly referencing the flower and playing with what I thought looked good, so I went for a base of bold yellow and purple tones with subtle earth tones as my accent colors. I feel like the colors in the end are a little bit too heavy-handed. I probably should have toned down that purple, which was especially apparent whenever I was trying to add a background to this piece, because there was no obvious background color to really make this piece pop. Nothing I tried really looked great, so I tried a bunch of different things and eventually settled on a similar oval background to my first. I really just added some foliage and texture and lots of various layers of color blocking, but I think it does the job. It's a little muddy, but there's a lot of mud in the forest. And like design number one, I finished this design off with some gradient maps. The last one is Hyacinth, and oh boy, was it a whole thing. You wouldn't expect this one to be the flower to give me problems, but maybe its normalcy was deceptive, because this design gave me more trouble than I've had on a character design in a while. I had a pretty clear idea of where I wanted to go in the beginning, mostly inspired by these images, but in practice, we flopped. There is no way around it. I just couldn't really get the shapes or colors looking the way I intended, and I went through at least 3 ideas, and in the end, I don't love any of them, but what I settled on is pretty okay. But I began by pulling from the shapes and colors of hyacinths for my clothing inspiration. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been on a bit of a 1970s kick here recently, so my initial idea was a sort of 2-piece flared bodysuit that has floral hyacinth motifs on the sleeves and the calves. A 2-piece bodysuit because midriff seemed to be kind of a thing in fairycore, and I don't know, it just kind of suited whatever I was going for. And I based the idea for the bodysuit fabric on this 3D floral fabric that I have been obsessed with for a while and keep using in designs. And to match that, I got really excited to work on the hyacinth designs in the first place because I thought that pink coily hair would be absolutely perfect for this, with the final piece of the puzzle as a cute pair of stays, which I thought would marry the 1970s aesthetic a bit more with cottagecore. This all looked cute in the sketch, but didn't look so cute whenever I inked and colored it. I wholeheartedly believe that a better artist could have designed something stunning with this idea, but it wasn't happening for me, so I kind of went back to the drawing board instead. I decided to go with a similar idea for the top, but instead try out a dress version, which is the idea that I ended up sticking with in the end with massively different styling. I went through so many different tweaks and ideas here, I'm not even sure what was throwing me off personally. It was probably a lot of things, honestly, but I suspect the pale color choice was kind of wasted on the deep skin tone I went with. I think the deeper pink I used looks lovely, but the other pink just created too much contrast and kind of made her skin tone lose some of its warmth and saturation. I did try to tweak that, and I think adding some other hyacinth colors later on did help a little bit, but in the final stages of the design, I swapped the butterfly wings in favor of wings kind of in the shape of individual hyacinth petals, and I landed on a mix of greens and blues for their color. I also decided she needed a bag or pouches or a place to put forged items, which after a mad dash of trying ideas led me to an apron. So since this design is overall very soft and feminine, I embraced that and added an embroidered periwinkle blue apron to bring in colors of other hyacinths. I also added the straps back into the stays and a bow in her hair, and changed up the shoes a little bit as well. Once I made a lot of these changes, it was looking much more passable, and this piece got the same background treatment as the first two. I feel like some of my recent art struggles have been because I've been using my iPad a lot, and even though I really like it, I just work slower in Procreate, and I prefer the gradients and the blending in Clip Studio, although I haven't tweaked all of my brushes yet. So I might return to Clip Studio for the next few designs just to put myself in a little bit more of my comfort zone, because I feel like my skills in Procreate are just a little bit limited right now. But I arrived at this finished product for Hyacinth in the most chaotic way possible, which is true Kira fashion, and here are the finished designs. I'll be honest, I don't love them. There are aspects of them that I like, but I just feel like I didn't push some of the concepts as far as I could have, and the colors are whack, but that's okay. I think it's important that you guys see some of my bad art days because no one draws or designs things they love 100% of the time, but it is still fun to draw and create even when your art is kind of bad. I think these will be a good lesson on what I can do better the next time I use flowers as a prompt. But anyways, let me know what you think of the finished designs, and do let me know what your name suggestions are for these characters in the comments. I haven't forgotten about the fungi names, I kind of just ran out of time this week, but I will let you know the names that I choose for all 6 characters in the next character design video. Well, howdy there, partner. This is the end of the video. What are you doing here? Get out! Thank you all so much for watching till the end of the video. I think a lot of you can tell recently I have been kind of low on the brain activity front, so if a couple of my recent designs lately just have not exactly been it, that is sort of why, but I hope you guys can see that I am trying to like push myself and get some good art out of myself. It's just hard right now. You know, I'm about to graduate soon. There's just a lot going on right now. I appreciate your patience and all the people who did really enjoy this video. You guys are the sunshine of my life, and I want to kiss you on the mouth. If you want to support me in a way that is not that, which is actually preferable, you can like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications. When you do so, I just write love letters to you in my diary. Anyways, I'm going to be taking a well-needed vacation this next weekend, so there's probably not going to be a video next week. I frankly need my brain to recover and come up with any original thought. Oh my gosh. So you can expect a new video most likely 2 weeks from now instead. Anyways, I love you guys all so much. I hope you have wonderful weeks. But now, if you'll excuse me, I am very busy. I have to go and once again perform photosynthesis. Bye.